From crazy monster riverfish to micro-sized frogs, here's 10 of the weirdest creatures ever. Number 10. Monstrous-looking mystery fish. A cryptic-looking blogspot post dating back to 2011 describes one Caribbean family's alleged discovery of a monstrous-looking fish along the Playa de Cieneguita de Limon in Costa Rica. 6 men had gone out fishing one day with plans to bring fish back home to their families for dinner. They took to the water with a trammel, which is actually illegal, and spent several hours moving along catching whatever crossed its path. One man, who spoke anonymously with a local news outlet, described taking the trammel out of the water and spotting the strange creature, which was moving around with part of his body opening. Since he'd never seen something like it before, the men took a closer look and quickly decided that they had no desire to eat the thing because it was so downright bizarre looking. Instead of releasing it back into the ocean, the group took the fish home to show their friends and relatives, who reportedly couldn't stop looking at the strange specimen. They took photos, although none seem to be available online today, with some spectators even suggesting that the creature had connections to extraterrestrials and UFOs. The discoverers supposedly dug a hole and buried the fish, although this entire story is questionable from the get-go. For one, the news source the blog is linked to no longer works, and other articles about the ordeal are virtually non-existent, leaving us to wonder whether the demonic-looking specimen was even real, and if so, the circumstances revolving around its discovery. Number 9. Pig-snouted brittle star. A newly described brittle star is making headlines for its bizarre appearance. It has arms that look like they're made of thousands of pig snouts. With the body measuring just 3 centimeters in diameter and 8 centimeter arms, it's very small. Unlike most brittle stars, which have 5 or 6 arms, this brittle star has 8, and its underside is equipped with long jaws and a collection of thorny teeth. These creatures lurk in the South Pacific, near the French-owned territory of New Caledonia, at depths between 360 and 560 meters, in an environment that scientists believe has remained largely unchanged for millions of years. It's been dubbed a living fossil and an evolutionary relic, as the pig-snouted brittle star hasn't really changed since the days of the dinosaurs. Researcher Tim O'Hara, who participated in a recent study on the creature, told Live Science that tropical marine habitats are good places for finding living fossils. He discovered the pig-snouted brittle star in 2015, 4 years after it was placed in a collection of unidentified specimens at the French National Museum of Natural History in Paris. A DNA test revealed that the species is not closely related to other echinoderms, including other brittle stars. Scientists consider it to be part of a new family, which they've named Ophiogiridae. Paleontologist and study co-author Ben Tai remembered seeing a 180 million-year-old fossil with a similar pattern, leading experts to conclude that the new species is very ancient. O'Hara and his colleagues hope to discover more living fossils in the New Caledonia region. Number 8. Teeny tiny frog. During an expedition to Borneo's Kuba National Park in 2004, scientists discovered an extremely tiny orange and red frog species that grows to just 1 centimeter long while searching for lost amphibians. They named the pea-sized creature Microhyla nepenthicola after the small pitcher plant they found it living in, and it's the old world's smallest known frog species. The frog lays its eggs within the plant, and its tadpoles live in what the BBC describes as an organic goo until they reach maturity. In addition to being distinctively small, the species has other traits that are unlike most frogs. Its tiny size and the so-called reduced webbing between its toes are believed to be evolutionary traits that help the frog navigate within the slippery pitcher plant it lives in. The only frog in the world smaller is called Eleutherodactylus iberia, and it is smaller than a dime and found in a handful of places in southern Cuba's Holguin province. Like many other creatures, it's under threat of extinction due to deforestation and could disappear before scientists get a chance to study it in depth. Number 7. Alligator-Fish Hybrid. Earlier this year, a British expat in Singapore discovered the remains of a so-called prehistoric creature with an alligator's head and the body of a fish. It was found on the banks of the McRitchie Reservoir. The large animal seemed like a crocodile at first to Karen Lithgow. Upon taking a closer look, she realised it was what appeared to be a combination of 2 animals that cannot realistically even mate. Local officials identified the creature as an alligator gar, a fish species endemic to the southern United States. Described as a living fossil, it remains largely unchanged from the ancestors it evolved from. Authorities believe the dead fish ended up 16,000 kilometres from its native habitat through the pet trade. Young alligator gar specimens measuring just 20 centimetres long on average are available from local fish markets according to local media outlets. But they get much bigger, often reaching up to 2.4 metres long and weighing more than 130 kilos. When this one grew too large for someone to realistically take care of, or they decided they didn't want it for some other reason, its owner likely released it into local waters with no apparent concern for how it could affect the fragile ecosystem. In addition to being massive, alligator gars are unmanageable as pets because they can live for decades. They mature extremely slowly and typically can't reproduce until they're at least 10 years old. As this unfortunate ordeal shows, it's usually best to leave wildlife where it belongs, in the wild. Would you ever consider having an alligator gar as a pet? Let us know in the comments below, and if you're liking this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. Number 6. Strange extinct lizard. A scientific paper published in early 2020 claimed that a tiny hummingbird-sized creature named the Oculus dentavis coungre, found inside a 99-million-year-old piece of amber, was the world's smallest dinosaur. The study was retracted later in the year, and new research suggests that the strange animal is a prehistoric lizard. The study's co-author, Juan Diego Daza, described it as unlike any lizard we have today. Scientists examined 2 specimens that were discovered in Myanmar and found that the lizards had scales, pointy dinosaur-like teeth attached directly to the jawbone rather than in sockets, and bulging lizard-like eye structures and shoulder bones, according to CNN. They were found to represent 2 different prehistoric lizard species, Oculus dentavis naga and Oculus dentavis coungre. Some of the confusion experts encountered stemmed from the creature's strange skulls, which they now believe were distorted by the amber that preserved them. The animals are also pretty strange looking compared to modern-day lizards, which further led researchers astray. These newly identified species lived between 145.5 and 66 million years ago during the Cretaceous period, when many modern-day lizard and snake groups evolved into existence. But they lack the characteristics of today's lizards, making them difficult to identify. Number 5. Australian Trumpet. Commonly known as the giant whelk or the Australian trumpet, Syrinx aruos is a predatory marine snail found in the waters off northern Australia, eastern Indonesia, Papua New Guinea and other surrounding areas. Measuring up to 1 metre long and weighing as much as 18 kilograms, it's the world's largest snail species. Australian trumpets are found between the intertidal zone at depths of up to 50 metres, according to the Queensland Museum's website. They're often collected as pets or ornaments and are overfished, which is one reason they're reportedly verging on extinction. Large specimens are rarely seen, and scientists know little about the creature's behaviour or habits. A massive Australian trumpet recently made headlines when it was spotted unusually out of place on the shore of the Godavari River in Andhra Pradesh, India. Instead of leaving the highly endangered creature alone, locals decided to auction it off, and it sold for 18,000 rupees, roughly $240. Number 4. Wandering Meatloaf. A mollusk that goes by the scientific name Cryptochiton stellari and is less formally known as the gumboot chiton or the giant western fiery chiton resembles what some have called a wandering meatloaf. Yep, I said what I said. This giant blob of meat, as Mike Wenner describes it in a Yahoo Entertainment article, contains a hard mineral that was previously only ever found in rocks. Using electron microscopes and other scientific instruments, a team of scientists examined the structure of the creature's teeth. They determined that it has unusually tough teeth since the gumboot chiton routinely scrapes them against hard rocks while it feeds on algae. Despite this practice, its teeth are left undamaged. But experts were surprised to find the mineral santobarbarite in the teeth, since it has never been found in a living creature, only in tiny amounts inside rocks. The chiton's teeth are attached to the soft tissue in its head by a hollow tube-like bony structure called a stylus. This sparked researchers' interest for multiple reasons, including challenges in modern-day manufacturing that involve connecting ultra-hard materials to soft underlying structures. They believe that their answers may lie within nature, particularly species like the gumboot chiton, which evolved over hundreds of millions of years. Number 3. Triple hybrid warbler. In 2018, a birdwatcher in Roaring Spring, Pennsylvania observed a warbler with a combination of features that just didn't seem to go together. Video footage showed a male that sang like a chestnut-sided warbler, yet had the physical characteristics of blue-winged and gold-winged warblers. A study by experts at the Cornell Lab of Ornithology revealed that the bird was an extremely rare type of hybrid. Speaking with the Cornell Chronicler, lead study author David Howes explained that the female parent was a blue-winged and golden-winged warbler hybrid, while the male parent was a chestnut-sided warbler from a completely different genus. Researchers determined the triple hybrid warbler's parentage through a detailed and complex DNA analysis that replicated how it most likely inherited its genetics. This is the first recorded instance of a chestnut-sided warbler and either of the other two species successfully mating, which proves that they are genetically compatible despite long-standing evolutionary differences. Because it happened among a significantly declining golden-winged warbler population, Toes believed it may have been an instance of the female bird making the best of a bad situation. Experts are unsure of the potential implications of the triple hybrid's unique combination of features, but they believe that its mixed ancestry may give it the reputation of an outsider and make mating difficult. Meanwhile, hybridization between golden-winged and blue-winged warblers is so common, scientists are afraid that they will eventually cease to be two distinct species. Number 2. Pinocchio Frog. The Latoria pinocchio, also known as the northern Pinocchio tree frog, was discovered back in 2008 at the Fohar Mountains of Indonesia's Papua province, but it was not officially described as a new species until recently in 2019. After herpetologist Paul Oliver spotted it by accident, the creature was informally called the Pinocchio frog for years to come. Unlike Pinocchio, the frog's unusual protruding downward-pointing nose, also called a rostrum, doesn't expand or shrink based on whether it's lying or being truthful. Instead, it inflates when the frog calls and deflates when the frog is calm and quiet. This bizarre nose is also seen in several related species found throughout Papua New Guinea, including Latoria cristali, Latoria havina, and more. Oliver and the other scientists are trying to figure out what exactly the frogs of the Latoria genus use their strange noses for. Mating is one possibility, although experts found no correlation between the size of the frog's nose and their choice in mating partners. Another theory suggests that the distinctive schnozzes help Pinocchio frogs identify one another by species, since Papua New Guinea contains more frog species than any other island in the world, with 450 identified and many more waiting to be discovered. Number 1. Psychedelic Frogfish. Discovered in the waters off Ambon Island and Bali, Indonesia in 2009, the psychedelic frogfish is named after its trippy pink and white striped pattern. The species, which is a type of anglerfish, grows to just 15 centimeters long, but its swirling unique pattern makes a big statement, except in cases where it uses it to camouflage itself from predators. Unlike other frogfishes, its yellowish-brown colour never changes, and it's unique among other anglerfish species because the lure on its head is rather small. This flat-faced fish is capable of jutting its jaw forward and expanding its head, which it seems to do the most at times when it's not feeding. So far, scientists have found the psychedelic frogfish at depths between 5 and 7 metres, roughly 20 metres from the shoreline. In addition to its bizarre patterning, the species also walks on its pectoral fins along the seafloor. It also pushes off from the bottom using these fins along with a jet propulsion mechanism that makes it resemble a bouncing beach ball. The psychedelic frogfish is not equipped with any major defense mechanism against predators, but avoids becoming prey by hiding in small spaces and camouflaging itself using its otherwise conspicuous pattern. Scientists know relatively little information about this funky-looking creature, which was photographed in the wild for the first time back in 2008. Thanks for watching. What creature do you find the most interesting? And if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. See you next time. Bye.